if you take a look at your shoulder fibers, you've got all of these angles, just tons of different muscles in your shoulder. So you get the front deltoid, you get the side, you get the rear. And as long as you're hitting all of the different angles, even with something like side laterals, you're going to develop a wicked, wicked shoulder.
Even when I got introduced to weightlifting, the biggest thing for me with when you were coaching me was you used the bands anyways for shoulders, for laterals, and you're hitting the angles, but those were all with bands even when we were weight training, right? So what
Mhm.
I've been noticing too is I stick to the bands because that's what I was taught. You get the craziest resistance through those, and you develop like some really just crazy fibers in here. You get like some rips in them, and you have them as well, and it looks really good. Um, Another thing, if you're doing at home workouts, is a push up where you're kind of your butt's up in the air and you just press down and you're working. It's like a shoulder press, but just in a push up form. And I notice it kills me. You basically go head to the ground.
Oh, I know.
So you're hitting the press, you're hitting the laterals. No work, no weights included. You're good.
Now, having said that, I've been doing 34 years of training, and I remember being 22, 23 years old. And one thing I used to do is, and you can ask Rob about this, I used to press him over my head in the cafeteria just for kicks. All right. It was a point in time where I was doing 275 pounds. So it was a barbell, two 45s on each side, and a 25 on each side. I was all the way down, all the way up, doing shoulder press for 5 or 6 reps. Okay, my strength was unbelievably
That's
crazy. It was crazy. Um, Doing that versus doing these rinky-dink exercise bands, I've got almost as good results. Now, understand the reason why I say almost as good is because I'm 50. That was when I was in my peak. I had tons of testosterone going through me, and back then you could eat 4 or 5,000 calories and you wouldn't get fat. If I were to eat 4,500 calories a day now, I'd be a tub of lard. All right. But it goes to show that something like bands, I mean, you got these small little muscle fibers here, all just kind of innervated. You don't need tons of weight to stimulate the muscle. You
no,
do need
exactly.
time under tension, and you do need to hit the angles properly.
And I think that's the important thing to understand is that you can put these bands on your weights too. This is not just it's not just an at home podcast. You can put these bands on your weights, but more importantly, if you don't have any weights, these bands are going to get you better results. Like they can get you better results, the same results.
Mhm.
There's no way it's going to be worse results.
Yep. And then the other big factor I think people need to look at is genetics. So take a look at a guy like a cyclist, for example. Some of those speed cyclists, their legs are huge, and their legs are huge partly because they're doing some
Definitely, yeah,
road work. They're going up a hill. So they're going up a hill, then they get a bit of a break. They go up another hill, they're inducing their quads. But they probably picked that sport because they were good at it. And they were probably good at it because their legs were big to start with. My legs were never big. And then building my way up to a huge 500-pound squat, all the way down, all the way up, that took a long time. But I noticed even then my legs weren't massive. It didn't matter how much I squatted. Bottom line is the genetics were not there to have the kind of growth that I wanted. So I think people have to be realistic with their bodies. If your shoulders are not massive to begin with, chances are they're not going to be massive. You can maximize the look of your shoulders, but I think you have to accept that that's your genetics. If you have no ass to begin with, unless you get ass implants, you're not going to have a bigger
yeah.
ass. You have to accept that. You take a look at some of the top bodybuilders in the world with these huge legs, but their calves are small. Doesn't matter how
That's just
hard
what
they
it is.
train or how much steroids they take, their calves are never going to be huge. And people need to realize you do the most that you can with what you have, and don't
Yeah.
get unrealistic with your expectations. Talk to me about that.
No, I mean, I don't have the best chest. I don't have the best biceps, but I work around that and I maximize everything with specialization on what needs to be worked on. Like if
Mhm.
I have some pretty decent shoulders, I have some pretty good triceps. I work those out a lot, really heavy weight. My biceps aren't the strongest, so I work out areas that are going to make everything look a little bit better. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's looking good. Some people it's strength. It's different goals, but you have to be realistic.
And I think a lot of people overemphasize the fact that weight training is going to give you the results that you want. That's not the case. What is the case is stuff like getting the proper amount of calories in, right? So if you have a calorie deficit and a small calorie deficit, over time you're going to get leaner. You get a huge deficit, you're going to get ripped, but you're going to lose a lot of your muscle mass. You have
Yeah,
a
you
calorie surplus and you're just going to gain weight over time.
yeah, no, nutrition's a big part of it. And I think the main thing that we're trying to stress here is that, everyone says you want to get bigger, get in the gym. It's not true. It's really not true. And I hate to break it to people who are working out. Great for you. Like I work out as well. I go to the gym sometimes. Um, but being in the weight room, being at a weight facility, being at the gym, it's not all that. You can do this stuff at home, and you can learn better than a lot of people. Uh, be comfortable with what you're working out, how you're working it out.
Mhm.
But if I were you, whoever's watching this, I would seriously suggest during these times, especially, adopt some band training, adopt some body weight training. You're gonna notice strength, and you're gonna notice your body get a lot better.
Right. Nail down your food. The other thing too, the biggest supplement, two biggest supplements you can have. And people, they're so bought into this stuff that they see in the magazines and the commercials. Should I take this pre-workout, that kind of shit. Um, Biggest supplement I've ever taken: sleep.
Sleep, yeah.
Let your body recover after workouts. Get your sleep in. You know what the second biggest thing is? Don't stress yourself
I'm
out.
gonna guess. Okay,
Don't stress
I would
yourself.
I would have guessed water.
Yeah, I know you were going to say water. Water is massive. You want to get your
Yeah,
body in tune, get your sleep, don't be stressed, eat your calories the way you're supposed to, get your protein in, good nutrients, drink your water, and then do your exercise. And you'll notice you're going to be way more ahead than somebody who does weights but has a shitty sleep and is doing their pre-workout supplements and their calories are totally off. Not going to get anywhere.
definitely. I mean, so for whoever who's watching this, whoever's tuned in, yeah. So I think the main point is that if you're watching this, it means that you're probably trying to make some big strides to excellence, whether it's getting stronger, changing your body. So the biggest piece of advice I can give you is going to a gym, kind of finding a gym right now. Find some bands, find some space at home, find a bar, and do what you got to do. I'm gonna be releasing a body weight program soon, strictly on body weight. Um, and you can try to follow that in the near future if you're tuned into this. It's really good stuff, and especially during times like this, for who knows how long, the next month, the next few months, you're not gonna have access to a gym all that much unless you have a personal one. So seriously consider body weight. Seriously consider band exercise. There's extreme guys like us who kind of just go crazy on it. There's some normal guys I know that if they're traveling, they're at a hotel, they're gonna go on the hotel floor and they're gonna bust out a workout, right?
Okay, that's extreme. I wouldn't say we're extreme.
Okay,
I totally disagree because you know why? We just do what we're supposed to do. That's it. A guy like, are you going to break out push-ups in a hotel floor? Maybe in a hotel room. I think
yeah,
you and I are not extreme. I think what we do is we just follow the basics extraordinarily well. Say, would you recommend? Because I did it. I recommend it. Buying a chin up dip contraption that you can put on your wall. It's available for $100 on Amazon. Not that I'm selling it. I wish I had that product as my own that I could sell. But would you buy something like that?
you can make it homemade. You can buy it. You can buy a plastic one. They all work the same.
Yeah. And the strength bands, like we're talking about the heavy duty stuff and some of the rubber tubing. That stuff's good too. Not all of it. Some of it's kind of shit. The thin stuff's kind of useless.
I promote all of it honestly because I've used some pretty thin ones for shoulders and biceps and triceps. I've used the thicker ones, so I promote all bands unless it's some super skimpy stuff.
Okay. So let me talk to you about your virtual background there. If you didn't have that really cool background of you winning a championship and taking down the net, you look like you're in prison. What was your background like? Like a white background or something?
No,
Had
I'm
some
just
jail release time for you, or what?
no, I got the tank top on. On the best look. Are you joking with me or what?
What's that?
Are you joking with me or what?
Without that background, you look like you'd be in prison.
You think so?
I think so.